So we are starting social studies. We're on page 8 of our magazine. And at the top it says conquistadors and more. So follow along with me, 5th grade. What do you think of someone who takes something that doesn't belong to them? What if it's something that that person really, really wants? What if it's something that an entire country really, really wants? The European exploration of the Americas presented European nations with an opportunity for great wealth. Spanish explorers, called conquistadors, or conquerors, led military campaigns throughout the Americas in order to obtain this wealth. As they traveled, they claimed the lands they saw for Spain. So you guys, we've talked a little bit about this, about explorers coming to a new country like America and saying, oh, no one's ever traveled this land before, it is now ours. But we know there are already people living there, right? Native Americans. So what would we think of these people who are just randomly appearing on a continent and claiming it as theirs? Okay, thieves, what else? What else do we think? Emmy? Stealers, what else do we think? Zoe? Selfish people. Frankie? Yeah, bad guys. What else? That was not an opening to start singing a Billie Eilish song. Max. Yeah. At first. Okay. Sure. Okay. Awesome. Would any of you agree with Max that maybe at first we shouldn't say that they're selfish and bad, but once they realized that Native Americans were living there, that maybe they shouldn't have claimed it? What do you think? Yeah. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of head nodding. Okay. All right, let's go. Waiting for voices to be off. We're going to read the caption with the map first. So it's important to understand what's going on here. Before we read the caption, let's look at the map itself. We have a key. So that kind of orangish tan color, that's the Inca Empire. So Inca is a culture of people. And so you can see they're along the west coast of South America, where Machu Picchu is. Then the Aztec Empire. I don't think it's very funny. I don't appreciate having to talk over you when you're not supposed to be talking at all. You're very close to earning yourself a check. Then we have the Aztec Empire, which is more of that golden color. And you can see that's kind of around, does anyone know what country that is? Max? Yeah, around. Okay, Emmy? It's around Mexico. Yep. Nope. I mean, it might include some of them, but it's also a little bit of Mexico, I'm pretty sure. Then we have the Portuguese claim. So you guys, this is land that was claimed by people in Portugal. So they came over and they claimed that like pinkish color. And then the Spanish claim, so people from Spain, are that grayish tan color. You can see they claim quite a bit. Then, do you guys see how there are colorful lines? Those are the routes that certain travelers took. So we have the Ponce de Leon, which is the red line, Cortez, which is the blue line, De Soto, which is purple, Coronado, which is green, and Cabrillo, which is the pink. Will? Yeah, these are explorers from Spain and Portugal, and they were called conquistadors, which is the same as conquerors. Jack L. Nope, that is on South American land. It's just along kind of the border of it. Max. Now it's in Brazil, all of them, or almost all of them, speak Portuguese. You're right. So I'm glad that Max brought that up. You know, the people who discovered a lot of these places, or I'm going to put discovered in quotation marks because we know that people were already living there, but the people who discovered these different places, the language that they spoke influenced the language that is spoken there today. So yes, the countries or the places now that were discovered by Portuguese conquistadors, they mainly speak Portuguese now as their main language. Allison. Yeah. Yes, they did. That's a great observation that some of them were over land while others are in the water. Yes, Jack L. Oh, yes, yep. So that's what Allison actually just pointed out too. So yes, so some of the travelers traveled over land and some of them traveled by boat and water. Nice. Okay, Will, last thing.
So for the Spanish claim,
Yes.
is there also some in Mexico?
It looks like it, yeah, because you can see all that grayish color, kind of the southern part of North America and into South America. Yeah. Yep. Awesome. Okay, so now let's read the actual caption that goes with our map. It says the Aztec and Inca empires controlled large areas of Central and South America. You can still see ruins of these empires today in Mexico and Peru. Each empire had a large, skilled army, but civil unrest, so that's like fighting within their own population, and new diseases weakened them. As a result, Spanish conquistadors were able to defeat them. Now let's look over to the right, the Protestant. So it says the Protestant Reformation spread through Europe in the 16th century. The goal of the Protestants was to reform or change the Catholic Church. As Spain claimed more and more territory in the Americas, priests and missionaries worked to convert native people to Catholicism. So two things about what we just read with this one. You'll find that there are quite a few religions that started off Catholic, but then a group of people didn't agree with some part of Catholicism, and they branched off and made their own religion. So if you're looking at Catholicism and Protestantism, I think that's how you would say it, they're very similar, but there are a few differences. And those were two religions that clashed a lot throughout history. And so Protestants were trying to get more people to leave the Catholic Church and join them. Meanwhile, Catholics were sending priests and missionaries over to these new claimed areas in the Americas to try and convert the native people to Catholicism. So basically, we don't want you to believe in your spirituality anymore. We want you to be Catholic. Yes, Max.
So what you just read,
Yeah.
I don't think they're saying they want with you.
Yep. You're what?
You're unsafe.
Unsafe?
You're unsafe. Right?
Oh, for your, okay, yep.
And also, isn't that the same thing with Lutheran and Protestant and Catholic?
Yes. There are a lot of religions that are very similar to Catholicism, but they're just little differences between them. Yeah. And so that's why we're all Christian. We're all Christian. Yes.
I just
So,
have a friend who's Lutheran.
yeah.
And like when she found out I was Catholic and I was living right at her house and just took her to eat,
Yeah.
she like started like
Oh,
she was,
kind of
like,
joking,
her,
yeah.
Friend and more.
Oh.
So,
Well, I know some people can joke about it too, like if they find out you're a different religion from them. Max.
is that kind of like Spanish?
I believe so, yeah. There are quite a few religions that are close to, yep, so like my dad was Baptist, which is still a Christian religion, but it's not quite being Catholic. It's a little different. Chanel. Apostle? That's a,
Wait, no, that's not what.
yeah,
Oh,
I don't know. I'm
I
sorry.
know that like part of the church, like the religion, they don't believe in drinking coffee.
Yeah.
They don't believe in like wearing pants.
Yep. Oh, why are there people who aren't named Chanel who I called on talking? Yeah. Nope. I mean, it could be. Like I said, there's certain things that make each of them different. Awesome. Okay. So remember, we still have this timeline running along the bottom of our page. So the Aztec and Inca empires controlled large areas of Central and South America. Oh yeah, we talked about that. Sorry. 1521. That's when Ponce de Leon returned to Florida to establish a Spanish settlement. So if we look back up on our map, Ponce de Leon was that red line, and you can see he traveled around Florida. So he returned to Florida, but is driven away by well-armed native people. So you guys, when they say native people, we aren't talking about just one group of Native Americans who were all over North America. When it says native people, that means people who are native to the land, people who lived there before the explorers came. So they're different groups of native people, but they're all being called native people because they're all native to the Americas. Then in 1521, Cortez conquered the Aztecs and he claimed Mexico for Spain. Then on page 9, at the top, with a force of less than 200 men, so less than 200, Francisco Pizarro ambushed the Inca Emperor, I think it's Atahualpa, I think. Pizarro soon executed him and joined with the Inca's enemies to help put down the resistance. Diseases caught from earlier European explorers had already killed off many Incas before Pizarro arrived. Others had died in a civil war that they had waged against his brother. This lack of stability helped Pizarro defeat the Incas. So a big thing. Okay, do you want to head up to the office?
Maybe some Vaseline from the
Definitely. What's important to note, you guys, is that when Europeans came over, and so Europe, that could be from Britain, that could be from Portugal, that could be from Spain, any of those countries in Europe, they had been exposed to illnesses that native people in the Americas had not. So when Europeans came over, they might be carrying certain germs that their body knows how to fight off. But the native people, since they had never experienced it before, their bodies didn't know how to fight it, and so they died. And so along with bringing their guns with them, to use if necessary, Europeans also unsuspectingly, without really knowing, brought germs as well, which also killed native people. Not intentionally, but that is what happened to lots of native people. Max.
So, I was just wondering if I had figured out if Pizarro overthrows
Yep. All right, then we have Hernando de Soto. So he helped Pizarro conquer the Incas. Later, he took 600 men and traveled from Cuba to Florida. He voyaged by land through present-day Georgia, the Carolinas, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, and Missouri. He fought with native peoples, including the Mobile people in Alabama. De Soto died on the journey and was buried along the Mississippi River. So even though some of these explorers, you guys, didn't conquer things, the fact that they traveled to places other Europeans hadn't is what kind of made them famous. Max. Yes, or along that. I think maybe more Alabama. I think. Yes, Will.
So that guy is famous, and before the Mississippi River was like a thing, he was still under discovering it.
Yeah, probably. Then we have Juan Ponce de Leon. So he was governor of Puerto Rico until he lost his position to political rivals. Seeking new land, he explored the Caribbean. In 1513, he landed on the North American mainland and named the region Florida. A later attempt to settle Florida failed when Native Americans attacked. Ponce de Leon was struck by an arrow during the attack. He later died from his wounds on Hispaniola. All right, and then we have Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo. So he is known as the first European to discover California. He was looking for rich cities and an all-water route through the Americas. He found neither. Francisco Vázquez de Coronado traveled from Mexico to present-day Kansas by land looking for the legendary 7 golden cities of Cibola. Members of his group were the first Europeans to see the Grand Canyon and the Colorado River. They never found any golden cities. And finally, we have Hernán Cortés. So he was a Spanish conquistador who defeated the Aztecs and conquered Mexico for Spain. The Aztecs were not well liked by neighboring cultures. One such neighbor, the city-state of, I think it's Chicala, joined forces with Cortez. 1,000 Chicaltecs went with him to attack Tenochtitlan, I think is how you say it. I can't say it very fast. The capital of the Aztec Empire. So they attacked the empire, the capital of the Aztec Empire. All right. You guys, we're going to go on to number 10 and 11 real quick, page 10 and 11. We're going to read a little bit about being inside a caravel. So, inside a caravel, imagine living on a ship for months and months. The boat is always moving. You eat the same thing day after day, hard biscuits, salted meat, and fish. Stale water sits in barrels below deck for you to drink because you couldn't drink the seawater. It was usually salt water, and you can't drink that. You'll become dehydrated. Your work is hard and tiring. When storms aren't throwing the ship around, sun beats down without shade. This was the life of countless sailors who joined the explorers on their voyages to distant shores. The ships they sailed on were uniquely built for long sea journeys, but that doesn't mean they were comfortable. So you can see it labels the different parts of the ship. So we have the foremast, the mainsail, the foresail. So these are the different types of sails that they could move depending on wind direction, the speed that they wanted to go. What? Yep, you could angle the sails. The deck, that is the main part where you usually in movies you see people on the deck. The hull is the bottom part of the ship. We have the captain's cabin, which is on the far end of the ship. Then we have different masts. So do you guys see, like, if you look on the smartboard, see where my mouse is? See what I'm circling on this mast? What happened in this little thing? But what was the point of it? Eosius.
People stood there, and then they like with the telescope, they look at the land, if there's like land or something.
Yes. Exactly. You could kind of think of, and you probably will see a few of these. You can see someone up on this one. Land? Nope, just more sea boys. So people would go into these little places on the masts, and they would usually have a Jack. Oh, put your chair down, please. They'd be looking for land. They'd be looking to see if there are like rocks ahead that they should avoid. They'd be looking to see if there are ships ahead, and if they're friendly ships or enemy ships. So they were able to see a lot more from up above, and so that's why they were there. Yeah, probably. Actually, I think they did have a place, and they just didn't have anyone looking out. Yep. If you can hear me clap once. If you can hear me clap twice. You guys, did these journeys on these ships sound like a fun time, like a cruise almost?
Oh, yeah.
No. It was a ton of work. And even though, while we're reading about it, these explorers, you might think, oh, it'd be so much fun to explore new places. Yes, it was fun in some respects, but it was very hard and very dangerous. Exactly. So,